United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for Tom Gannon. Tom was a member of various boards throughout the past several decades as an attorney. His son is a police officer here in town. He passed away this weekend. Okay, thank you. This meeting is convened in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act of New Jersey. Let the official minutes reflect that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by publishing a notice in the Asbury Park Press on Friday, January 8th, 2021, the Press of Atlantic City and the Star Ledger, and also forwarded to the Toms River Times, Toms River Patch, and WOBM News on Wednesday, January 6th, 2021, and thereafter posting same on the Town Hall Bulletin Board for such notices, and filing same with the Township Clerk pursuant to a resolution adopted by the Township Council on Tuesday, January 5th, 2021. The meeting dates have also been posted on the Township webpage. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Urick.
Here.
Councilman Kopp.
Here.
Councilman Lotano.
Here.
Councilman Roderick. Here. Councilman Turnbach.
Here.
Council Vice President Maruka.
Present.
Council President Gagan.
Here.
First item on the agenda, the approval of minutes of April 27, 2021.
Move the minutes.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Urick, second by Councilman Turnbach. Councilwoman Urick.
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
Yes.
Council Vice President Maruka.
Yes.
Council President Gagan.
Yes.
Tonight, for honoring resolutions and presentations, we have Paint the Board Pink. We have Giovanna Onofredi receiving her Gold Award. We have the Authentic Science Research presentations by Jake Rice, Giovanna Onofredi, and Caitlin Colbert.
Move the resolutions and presentations?
Second.
Motion was made by Council Vice President Maruka, seconded by Councilwoman Urick. Council Vice President Maruka.
Yes.
Councilwoman Urick.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council President Gagan.
Yes. Council, if you will.
We'd like to call up Giovanna Onofredi. So tonight we're honoring Giovanna for earning her Gold Award. And the Girl Scout Gold Award requires 80 hours of volunteer service, plus a lot of prerequisites that it just takes years to accomplish this. I know my own daughter, my oldest daughter actually completed her Gold Award. My two younger ones got partway through, but it's a lot of work. So it's really a huge accomplishment. And the project really has to be worked on by the individual Girl Scout. You can't claim credit for any hours that anyone else has helped you with, even though you can get a lot of help. It's all your own 80 hours. So, and then you have to present it to the board, and it's very stressful. So, tell us about your project.
So basically I built a shed from scratch for a community garden. This community garden does grow a lot of food that they donate to pantries in different places. So I expanded the garden by building this shed so they can use the resources to be able to do this and donate food to different organizations.
Great. And it's sustainable.
Yes, sustainable.
That's
Yeah.
another point of the
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't believe we have anybody from Hackensack Meridian Health Systems here tonight, but we have a honoring resolution from the council and the mayor, where Paint the Town Pink. Whereas each May, towns in Ocean County join Meridian Health's Paint the Town Pink effort to raise awareness of the importance of annual mammography, and whereas Township of Toms River desires to recognize the month of May 2021 as Paint the Town Pink Month, and whereas the township seeks to reaffirm the commitment to overall wellness by promoting early detection as the best defense against cancer and other health-related issues through distribution of information and wearing pink. We'll be presenting this to them at a later time. We have a couple other presentations tonight. We'll pull up, yep, and Gianna, come on back up. Jake Rice, Jake here. And the third one is Caitlin Fulber. She's not able to attend? Okay, we'll present that to her at another time. So, Jake and Yvonne, again, congratulations on your work. I understand you're going to be giving us a presentation on what you did. If you want to go ahead and take the mic and explain things before the PowerPoint. Sure, go ahead. It'd be nice to go.
Okay, so the Authentic Science Research Program is a program that's in the high school. It is actually outside of the regular school hours. So it introduces students to the real world of science research. So it really helps them to understand the scientific process and how to conduct research. And not all the projects are successful, but that's part of doing science, right? So we have successes and failures, and these two students and the third one who can't be here tonight actually won first place in the Delaware Valley Science Fair, which is phenomenal. And one of them, which one? You are going to the international? Okay, so Giovanna actually went on to the International Science Fair, which is just a huge honor. And so someone from Toms River Schools is doing amazing work on an international level. It's really exciting. So that's why they're here tonight.
All right, sorry about that. So as they introduced me, my name is Jake Rice. I am a senior at Tom's River High School South. Welcome. So yeah, as introduced earlier, my name is Jake Rice. I am a senior at Tom's River High School South, right across the street. And this is my presentation that I presented in front of Delaware Valley Science Fair, the effect of non-conductive sleeve in front of muon interaction rate. So, to be more general, cosmic rays are collections of particles that travel through space. They collide with the atmosphere. They create air showers, which rain particles onto the surface of the Earth. What's important here is one of those particles being the muon. Muons are similar to like an electron, has a negative electric charge, and it's much more massive. That allows it to reach the surface of the Earth and allow us to study it. What's interesting about these muons is that they can actually interact with the electronics that we use in our day-to-day lives. They can interact with the computer memory within certain devices, changing the binary code within it and causing glitches. Now, most of the time this is unnoticeable, but in some simpler electronics it can be noticeable, such as like a video game console. A possible solution to this is to cover those sensitive components of a computer with some form of non-conductive covering to hopefully reduce the interaction with those particles. Now, in order to solve this problem, we need to be able to detect these particles. We use the light that they emit when they pass through something like clear plastic or a Cherenkov light, and we use a photomultiplier which just takes that light, submits a signal. That's what I use as my muon detector, and I use two of those running at the same time to just make sure that I was just getting muons and also the total detections just as a filter. Well, that should not be blank. Thanks, Google. Thanks, Google Slides. But throughout my study, I had 3 controlled variables. They were the location of the detectors, the time of the elapsed, and the position of them in their habitat. And the independent variable, which I changed, was the sleeve or cover and the material used for that cover. And the change was the count of muons and the total count. Now, my hypothesis beforehand was that if the environment and the amount of time remains the same, that a non-conductive cover should reduce that interaction rate. So each trial was run for about an hour. A control trial was run just with no cover to see the initial results. The next 2 trials, I used non-conductive materials, one of them being cardboard and one of them being plastic, stuff I could find around the house. And then the 4th trial was using aluminum foil, which is a conductive material, to see if that would make any difference. After these 4 trials, I noticed that nothing changed. During each of the trials, the ratio between the muon detections and the total detections was about 1 to 7. And this ratio remained throughout all the trials, showing a very consistent result between each trial, showing that there was no change depending on which material I used. Each trial shared right around the same amount of total detections, 400 muons to around 2,800 total detections. This graph visualizes it. Virtually no difference between each trial. What this shows is that the use of a simple sleeve is not effective in countering this. A more significant change in the environment needs to be studied in order to see if we can counteract the interaction with muons, and that is what I plan to do in my future. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Giovanna Onofriedi. This PowerPoint is just a brief presentation of what I presented at Delaware and Intel. I'm going to pull up on my phone because I can't really see from up there. So my topic was the effects of bioactive compounds of berry seed extract on karyogenic and periopathogenic bacteria. Streptococcus mutans are facilitatively anaerobic bacteria, and they are the main causative bacteria to be able to cause dental caries in the mouth, and it's known for its prevalence in the oral biofilm. Fusobacterium nucleatum is another bacteria that's known for its prevalence in the oral biofilm and does have a very known bacteria to be able to cause periodontal disease. Periodontal disease is basically the gum and the bone destruction in the tooth, and things that cause periodontal disease is bacterial plaque, different microbial probiotics, and a host immune response for many etiological factors. Dental caries are one of the most common infectious diseases in humans. Things that cause dental caries are, of course, eating a lot of refined carbohydrates, different buildup of plaque, and of course different microbial byproducts that are used. Vaccinium corbosum seed extract and Rubus fructosus seed extract, both of them, they have high amounts of phenolic compounds and bioactive compounds in it, and a lot of flavonoids and anthocyanins and anthocyanide. That's why I chose these two berry seed extracts, because of the bioactive compounds that they have and they hold. So my hypothesis was if prevalent oral disease bacteria become exposed to specific bioactive compounds in a variety of berry seed extracts individually and in mixtures at varying concentrations, then the bioactive compounds in berry seed extracts of the mixtures would exhibit the greater zones of inhibition in the individual concentrations, because the effects of the bioactive compounds and the berry seed extracts together act as antimicrobials, producing greater effects together than the sum of their individual effects. So in my methods, this is very long, there's some pictures. The zones of inhibition were measured for the bacteria that grew from the Fusobacterium nucleatum and the Streptococcus mutans, and the VCSE and the RFSE that was used on them. And then there was a total of 132 trials. A negative control was used, which was chlorohexidine gluconate and 1% sodium fluoride, and then there was a negative control to minimize test error. There's more pictures. And I also did a ANOVA statistical analysis to make sure my data was statistically significant. So in this bar graph right here, one of the many that I had was on the left side, you can see Vaccinium corbosum seed extract, the Rubus fructosus seed extract, and then both of them mixed together, so the Vaccinium corbosum and the Rubus fructosus seed extract. The range for the Vaccinium corbosum was about 18.1 to 23.3 millimeters for the zone of inhibition that was grown, and it had a range from 18 to 23, but together, you can see the synergistic effects of them from 25 to 32, showing that them together did have a greater effect than them just individually. My phone shut off. So in conclusion, according to the agar disc diffusion susceptibility test, the karyogenic and peripathic bacteria are susceptible to the VCSE and the RFSE mixtures to provide a likelihood of therapeutic success in the oral cavity. So this indicates that the inhibitory effects of the VCSE and the RFSE mixtures together in MIC can enhance the reactions of the bioactive compounds, antimicrobial efficiency of dental caries, and periodontitis prevalent of the F nucleatum and the S mutans respectively. This is not only helping the environment with decreased fruit waste, but increases the use of bioactive compounds in berry seeds, but more natural methods to help therapeutically treat common oral disease bacteria with less chemicals for optimal patient care. Thank you.
All right, another round of applause for our future scientists. Thank you.
Getting back to the agenda, item 7 is a 2021 Toms River Special Improvement District Budget Public Hearing.
Okay. Miriam? Step on up. Good evening.
Matt.
Thanks for coming.
Hard to follow those kids.
Yes, it is.
I'll try. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Council President. I just want to give a brief overview of what the bid is. BID is a quasi-government agency incorporated as a nonprofit to enhance government service and to improve the quality of life and commerce within the downtown district. The downtown district is the Parkway to Hooper Ave, south side of Route 37, all the way to the river. And the bid is funded 60% through a tax assessment, 10% event fees, sponsorship 20%, rent 8%, and grants 2%. So the tax assessment is for the commercial building owners only within the district pay the tax assessment. So it doesn't go through the residents all the time. I want to make sure that everyone's clear on that. For the 2021 budget, we propose no tax assessment increase for the first time in many years. We recognize that through the financial burdens within the district and propose to maintain the tax assessment for commercial properties. This is the first time in many years. We were able to receive financial assistance from both the state and federal level to offset the financial loss from not having event fees, loss in sponsorship, and loss for tenants. In receiving this assessment, this has helped the bid stay flat with the budget line items for 2021, maintain a financially sound budget for this year while maintaining a high service level for the business district. Is there any questions?
Does any council have any questions? Does anybody from the public have any questions?
There is a vote on this.
Okay. What's that? Any member of the public have any questions? I don't see any. Okay, thank you very much.
Seeing none, move to close the public comment on the Special Improvement District budget.
Second?
Motion to close public comment on the bids budget public hearing made by Council Vice President Maruka, seconded by Councilwoman Yurick. Council Vice President Maruka,
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick,
Yes.
Councilman Kopp,
Yes.
Councilman Latano,
Yes.
Councilman Roderick,
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach,
Yes.
Council President Gagan.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the 2021 Special Improvement District budget as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Council Vice President Maruka, seconded by Councilman Turnbach, to approve the 2021 Special Improvement District budget. Council Vice President Maruka,
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach,
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick,
Yes.
Councilman Kopp,
Yes.
Councilman Lotano,
Yes.
Councilman Roderick,
Yes.
Council President Gagan.
Yes.
Item 8 is an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, amending and supplementing various sections of Chapter 348, Land Use and Development Regulations, to repeal and replace Section 348-8.28-1, Stormwater Management Control, in its entirety. This is a final reading.
This is a final reading. Does any member of the public wish to be heard? Okay, seeing none, council?
Seeing none, move to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Move the ordinance on final.
Second.
Motion was made by Council Vice President Maruka, second by Councilman Latano. Council Vice President Maruka,
Yes.
Councilman Latano,
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick,
Yes.
Councilman Kopp,
Yes.
Councilman Roderick,
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach,
Yes.
Council President Gagan.
Yes.
Item 9 is an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, consenting to franchise renewal rights to the New Jersey Natural Gas Company to lay and maintain gas mains, pipes, and service pipes in and under the surface of any and all of the roads, streets, avenues, highways, and public places for the purpose of furnishing natural gas to the Township of Toms River. Final reading.
This is the final reading. Does any member of the public wish to be heard? Seeing none, council?
Seeing none, I move to close the public comments portion of this ordinance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Move the ordinance on final.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Yurick, second by Councilman Lotano. Councilwoman Yurick?
Yes.
Councilman Lotano?
Yes.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Roderick?
Again, New Jersey Natural Gas increased its rates by 25% this year. I don't think we should be extending their contract. I know the council has a ordinance, or rather a resolution, 12, where we are going to oppose the rate hike, but we're giving up our leverage here by renewing these folks ahead of time. I know my natural gas bill is about $316 on budget, and that would be $70. And I think our most vulnerable senior citizens, if they see a $75 increase a month, it's going to be very hard for them, and they're going to have to make tough choices between food, medicine, and paying their gas bill. So, no, I do not vote to renew their contract.
Councilman Turnbach?
Council President, is Mr. Roberts here tonight? Or our township engineer?
Yes.
Mr. Ginkelian.
Mr. Chikalian?
Maybe if someone can speak to this ordinance and what it means before we...
This is a model stormwater ordinance that's being...
No, this is the New Jersey Natural
Jersey
Gas, I'm
Natural
sorry,
Gas.
9. So they have to maintain it in the event of a gas leak in an
Well, yes,
emergency.
as you know, I believe part of this funding has to do with the pipeline that's being, the secondary pipeline that's being proposed. I believe it was through the Pinelands that was recently constructed. That, as you know, our area is only fed by one line. This provides that feed line. So in the case of an outage such as what we had during Superstorm Sandy, those projects cost money, and this is part of their funding.
Part
And
of their funding.
Yeah, they have to, this line, our area doesn't have a redundant gas line source.
If we were to not approve this, in other words, they wouldn't get the money?
I don't have access to their
Yeah,
finances per se, but this is definitely part of their cost of
Maybe
operating.
Mr.
We're
Merlin.
confusing the rate increase with the award of the franchise. The award of the franchise is within the local jurisdiction. This is actually the shortest franchise that the township has ever granted. The first franchise was for 50 years. The second was for 10. This one is for 5. Township has no authority over the rates. That is entirely within the jurisdiction of the BPU, and there is no leverage. There would be no effect on the rate, the BPU's consideration of the rate by withholding the franchise. Conversely, if we withhold the franchise, then who supplies the gas, who maintains the lines? Nobody has an answer to that question. So that's why you award the franchise to New Jersey Natural Gas, so you can continue getting your gas.
With that explanation, I vote yes.
And
Council-
Council President, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Can we just, there's a reason that we're only going for 5 years, because we did use leverage with New Jersey Natural Gas, correct?
Well, they do have an ongoing cleanup project in downtown Toms River, a site not too far from here. The mayor and members of the council usually attend periodic meetings on the progress of that project. When I spoke with representatives from New Jersey Natural Gas, they indicated to me that that project would take about 5 years. So this extension sort of corresponds with their obligation to continue that cleanup project.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Merlino.
Council Vice President Maruka?
With the explanation from Mr. Merlino and tying it into a 5-year versus the 50 or 10 like we previously had, I would vote yes.
And Council President Gagan?
Yes.
Item number 10, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, establishing a new Chapter 234 of the Township Code to prohibit the operation of cannabis establishments, distributors, and delivery services in the township. This is a final reading.
Okay. This is the final reading on this ordinance. Any members of the public wish to be heard? You'll have to step up to the mic, state your name and your address. Ma'am, you in the front, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Lori Singer. I live at 113 Garfield Avenue. Before I begin, I want to say any views I express do not necessarily reflect the views of any companies or individuals I have business or personal relationships with, or any organizations I'm affiliated with. I'm here exercising my freedom of speech as a resident and constituent of Toms River. I am not supportive of this ordinance prohibiting cannabis businesses from operating in Toms River. The lack of accessibility for medical marijuana patients in this state is inexcusable. I have an immediate family member who's on the medical marijuana program, and we have to drive an hour to Cranberry, wait in line in our car for another hour before he can go inside and get his medicine and drive another hour home. There isn't another dispensary in the area that's less than 45 minutes away. This is unacceptable. I am now legally allowed to finally say without recourse that I am a recreational cannabis user. I'm incredibly fortunate that I have never had issues with addiction. My cannabis habits have never led me to try other drugs. I've been working as a massage therapist and a yoga instructor for 20 years, and my work and lifestyle embraces having a healthy, balanced life. I've never been arrested, I've never been in debt, and I hardly even drink that much. I don't even drink coffee. However, I do enjoy cannabis from time to time, and I have issue with any governing body that will not give me access to a safe, tested, and fully legal product. Toms River Township is approximately 52 square miles, 12 square miles of which is water. As of 2018, Toms River Township has 54 active liquor licenses being used within its boundaries. The overall position of the council for pushing this ordinance through is that the council wants to, quote, full control over whatever the cannabis businesses would be operating within the township. Has everyone on this council, the township attorneys, and the mayor, all read the New Jersey State Cannabis Law in its entirety? It's 240 pages long, though the margins on the 240 pages are pretty wide, so it's a quick read. Is the council in full understanding that the license process of cannabis business must go through to operate in New Jersey? Are you full, that's a question for the council. Does the council full awareness? Okay. Does the council know that the law states municipalities have to approve each cannabis business applicant through the township zoning board and through a resolution voted on by council as part of the licensing process? Are the council and mayor, township attorneys, aware of the current state zoning laws listed in the state law? Does the council know that the council has the right to create its own zoning ordinances for cannabis businesses according to the current state law? Is the council aware that it can create a resolution to channel every dollar collected from the retail sales collected into a Toms River School Fund account? Shouldn't this be explored? Toms River School System financial issues is in dire need of funds now. We cannot wait. It is exhausting to hear the council's complaints of the state funding crisis. Mayor Hill and some of the council members have taken trips with the schools to Trenton to demonstrate their needs for better school funding. This is your opportunity to take control of this budget crisis. To put this ordinance through in such a hasty manner because, quote unquote, time is running out is sloppy and poor. Any consideration of any types of bans is unacceptable and goes against the overwhelming majority of your constituents who voted to legalize cannabis by 64% of the vote. I'm sure the four ward council people that are aware that their term is up this year, and there is no doubt that if you vote yes today, your reelection may be jeopardized.
Sir, with the black mask, you standing up, please come up. No. the gentleman standing up. Please state your name, address for the record, and all questions have to come, through me, and I'll defer to the attorney or whomever. Thank you.
My name is Hugh Giordano, 57 Argyle Avenue, Blackwood, New Jersey.
What was your address?
57 Argyle Avenue, Blackwood, New Jersey.
Blackwood, Camden County?
Yes. I'm here today as representative of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, UFCW, Local 152. The UFCW is a national labor union of 1.3 million hardworking families across the U.S. and Canada. And we are proud to be the official labor union which represents cannabis workers from seed to sale under the guise of the AFL-CIO. We are also working with our building trades brothers and sisters who in New Jersey law will have the retrofit and build out of these facilities. This ordinance is a direct attack on working class people. It attacks good jobs, union jobs, jobs that come with living wages, health care, sick time, vacation time, paternity leave, which this country does not have under law. This creates careers. These careers are also educated careers, people with chemistry degrees, horticulture, botany, and other forms of higher education. These jobs will increase the middle class directly. Right now, New Jersey has the best labor laws in the country when it comes to cannabis. Other states are actually taking our labor laws and trying to get into their states. Virginia just took our labor laws. So this shows what type of impact union cannabis jobs have. I would ask two things. One, the city of Bayonne passed an ordinance about a month ago. A big city took the time to go through and create a merit-based application system. You have full control. The state law gives townships, cities, and boroughs control. If Bayonne can do it, Toms River can do it. You can set up where you have application fees, you can decide how many dispensaries or cultivation sites you want, and you can decide where they go. You have that power. Also, this is not new to Toms River. We had the same discussion back in 2018 about banning medical, which hurts sick and dying people, which is ridiculous. Working class people should not have to drive anywhere to get their medicine when you can buy fentanyl right here in this establishment. It doesn't make sense. What we are asking you is to table this ordinance, look at the Bayonne ordinance, and copy that, and you'll be good to go. It's a very conservative ordinance on top of that. It doesn't allow a lot of establishments. So you can go slow, just don't restrict. People voted for this, the working class voted for this, and the AFL-CIO, the building trades, and the UFCW oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Yes. Please state your name and address for the record. Yes, if you want to drop your mask, that's fine.
Try not to breathe too much here.
Thank
Sam
you.
Foster, 108 Tigu Drive in Brick. I spoke already about the marijuana issue last meeting, so I don't want to be repetitive. Just had a quick question. As you all know, I'm a delivery driver for DoorDash. Right now we deal with food, but we're also branching out into other businesses like alcohol. Some countries, some counties, some states, they allow us to deliver alcohol. I just have a question about the law here. As a delivery driver, if, for example, DoorDash expands to, like in some towns, they're expanding into alcohol, at least in some states, what would be the implications if I were to work for a delivery company that happens to deliver marijuana and it's banned, the delivery service in town to deliver marijuana would be illegal, but passing through Toms River, if, for example, a delivery driver gets stopped with marijuana in their vehicle, would there be any legal repercussions, if someone's driving, let's just say me, I work for a company that does, I get a pickup for marijuana in town where it's legal, I drive through Toms River, I get pulled over speeding or something, they see the marijuana in my car, will I have any legal liability in Toms River? Could I be charged or anything passing through, but not delivering into town, but just passing through? When delivery driver, just want to know.
I understand your question. I would have to defer to our attorney. These are questions that I don't have the answer to.
Okay.
We may have to look at things as far as, marked or unmarked delivery vehicles might be part of the bigger picture down the road. I don't know if it's spelled out.
I can't answer that question in the abstract.
Could you speak in the micro? I can't
answer that question in the abstract. There are exceptions for delivery services, but you're asking about criminal liability. which
Yeah.
I can't answer that for you.
Well, I'm just
I
saying.
can't give you legal
Yeah,
advice
'cause it
either.
does, I'm just concerned about the aspects of the, because it does say that in this ordinance that delivery services are banned, but I'm just, and just distribution, but from a delivery standpoint, like, if I happen to go to work for a company, I would
For
think,
an
that-
authorized delivery service, you should still be able to operate.
yeah, but I'm just saying if I were to deliver like marijuana,
Well, that's what we're talking about, right?
yeah, that's what I'm
Okay.
talking about, but like, the way the ordinance is listed, it's, the township as, Tom's River is banning the distribution and delivery of marijuana in town. If I would be traveling through Tom's River, for example, to make a delivery of, say, marijuana in a town where it's legal,
We're banning the
could you speak in the mic? I can't hear.
the ban extends to the supply chain. So it's the production, the cultivation, and the sale.
Okay,
So, Mr. Molina, can I ask a?
yeah.
Let me see where you're reading.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about it.
I think he's referring to
Hang on.
delivery.
What? Sir, he has the floor, please.
Yeah, I'm
Don't
sorry, I
interrupt.
just
That's
want to
okay.
clarify this for you.
And again, there's many questions that
Yeah, I'm
we
sorry.
don't have the
Yeah,
answers
so-
for, and we want to be
Yeah,
well
but see,
educated.
no,
I
this
think
is
he's
a-
referring to delivery
Service
originating
would be
from
banned,
Tom's River.
but your
I'm
receipt
sorry,
of it, if
could
you
you speak?
get
I
it,
can't hear. I can't hear.
in other words, a delivery service couldn't operate in Tom's River.
For marijuana you talked about.
Right, because that's what we're
Okay,
talking
yeah.
about. But you're talking about whether somebody in Tom's River gets it from another delivery service.
No, I'm talking about
someplace
if a driver that's, if I pick up marijuana in a town where it is legal to sell it, and I have a
Right.
delivery in a town and I'm traveling through Tom's River, we're not selling in Tom's River, let's just say, I don't know, Point Pleasant, I don't know, or whatever, Bayville, no. If I pick up something in Brielle where it's legal to sell it and distribute it, and I have a delivery to deliver it to someone in, say,
But it's
South
legal
Tom's
for the
River.
person you're delivering it to receive it.
I'm sorry?
It's legal for the person that you're delivering it to.
Yes,
to
but
receive it.
what I'm trying to say here is passing through Tom's River where it's not legal. See, I'm picking up in Brielle, and I have a delivery to deliver in, say, South Tom's River. Now, it's legal in Brielle, it's legal in South Tom's River. I'm transferring the marijuana through Tom's River. I get pulled over, pulled by the police for whatever, speeding or whatever. What is in this ordinance that would protect somebody who is obeying the law during the pickup, between the pickup and the actual delivery, when I'm passing through a town like Tom's River where it is banned? You understand what I'm saying? Because if you get pulled over in Tom's River with marijuana, the way I'm reading this ordinance is that it would be illegal and you could be charged. Am I correct?
You may be correct.
Yeah, now the concern that I have is someone who has a legitimate job where you pick it up in a town, just say Brielle, pick it up in Brielle, you have delivery to someone in South Tom's River. You're traveling through a town, Tom's River, and also Brick. What is what?
But you're not delivering, in that scenario, you're not
Could you,
delivering.
I can't hear.
In that scenario, you're not delivering it into Tom's River. In that
Yes,
scenario, you're delivering it
yes, I understand
into
that, but I'm
South
just saying,
Tom's River.
I'm just saying distribution.
And it's not illegal for you to have it.
Okay, all right. I was just concerned about the way this is. So delivery drivers can travel through Tom's River to deliver it to. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Another town, right?
Yeah. Okay. That's all. Because it was just confusing the way this was worded. Okay. Thank you. And as I said, I made my point. My point already in the past about marijuana. How I feel about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hey, who else?
Can I just ask a clarifying question on that?
Sure.
Because I didn't think that it was allowable for us to prohibit someone to receive a delivery in Tom's River.
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's what I
so
said.
even if he is
Yeah.
originating in some town where it's legal to sell it and distribute from and deliver from, and he delivers to a home in Tom's River, that's still not illegal.
Right, in that scenario, the delivery service is not, the delivery.
A delivery service originating outside of
Outside of
Tom's
Tom's River, right.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to clarify.
Okay, thank you. Sir, in the middle with the cane?
My name is Rafael Rivera.
I'm sorry, your name, you can pull your,
Rafael Rivera.
okay, and your home address?
410 Mark Drive, Tom's River.
110 Martin?
410 Mark. I'm here in support to welcome the cannabis business in Tom's River.
You could speak into the mic,
Okay.
please, a little closer.
There are so many opioids being prescribed in New Jersey, overdose and death numbers all-time high.
Sir, if you would, just tilt the mic down, we can hardly hear you.
Okay. No one overdosed on cannabis. Cannabis is a natural alternative to pain. Thank you. Okay. There are so many opioids being prescribed in the state of New Jersey. Overdose and death number at all-time high. No one overdosed on cannabis. Cannabis is a natural alternative to pain medicine. Cannabis can generate millions of dollars and tax revenue for schools, systems, and road in Tom's River. Cannabis industry must operate within the law can cannabis to be sold to just 21 and older. Alcohol and cigarettes are just as bad, and no one bats any eye. Cannabis can use as an alternative to anti-anxiety medication for sleep, which is habit forming. The black market is also benefiting themselves and not paying the taxes either. So I'm here to support the cannabis business in the, welcome them in Tom's River.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Sir, in the back with a black T-shirt on? Yeah, you that just turned your head with the black mask. Yeah, come on. You've been waiting. Thank you. You just state your name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Kenneth Gaughran. I live at 1204 Fellowship Court in Toms River. And I just wanted to talk about why this prohibition should not be passed tonight. And first off, I do want to talk about what will inevitably happen in the coming months if this does go through. There is going to be an onslaught of lawsuits. We are going to be spending taxpayer funds to defend this prohibition in vain, which is not supported by Toms River voters. And that money could have been going towards, we could have been receiving tax revenue from this. Lakewood, Brick, they all decided to ban it already. We have a unique business opportunity right now that they do not have. Lakewood and Brick, their residents will come to Toms River. While Lakewood and Brick are dealing with the legal fallout from this, we will be taking the money, their hard-earned money, from their residents who come here and spend their dollars here. And we could be making money off of them. And not only that, the next, another issue will also be, for years we've been talking about how do we revitalize downtown Toms River? How do we get more businesses here? How do more people open up shop? Well, if you open a dispensary, it's going to bring more attention to that area. There's going to be more restaurants. And not only that, when people, this is well known, people who smoke or marijuana, use THC products, they get munchies. They have the munchies. They're going to go to restaurants. You go on DoorDash. You go on DoorDash, you find a restaurant you never heard about before, you're going to start ordering from them. They're coming for a walk downtown. If they ever open in downtown Toms River, we can go for a walk. You have Thyme for All Seasons, you have Daddy-O's, you have Capone's. Stop, get a bite to eat, head home afterwards, enjoy your products. And then, sorry, I have a whole list here. And another thing it also creates is jobs. We just had a COVID-19, we're still in a COVID-19 pandemic. We're not out of it yet. We need to jumpstart the economy. How do we do that? How do we get more jobs? Dispensaries. You get dispensaries. In some states, dispensary workers, usually the growers, can make up to $100,000 a year. Professional growers. That's jobs. That's tax revenue. Those are more people moving into Toms River. And then we also get into another issue as well. The dispensaries will remove the drug dealer factor out of buying marijuana. Last week, there was some discussions about it being a gateway drug. I don't believe it's a gateway drug. I believe there are gatekeeper dealers. You go to a drug dealer and somebody who doesn't know, maybe they're a new smoker, they don't know what all the weed strains look like. They go up, they say, hey, do you have any green? You got any weed? And the guy goes, oh, no, but I have something else for you. That's how it starts. That's how it starts. That is the gatekeeper dealer. And that's what we got to get rid of, and that's what these dispensaries will get rid of. And that's what we need to work on. And another thing also is, Toms River, tourism revenue, we're a pass-through town. Everybody goes to Seaside Heights. You tell somebody from out of state you're from Toms River, you're going to get three things. You're either going to get a reference to our sports people. They're like, oh, Edgar or Frazier are from there. The most popular one, the one I hate most, is, oh, that's where JWoww and Snooki did their show. Or you're going to get the movie buff that goes, oh, that's where they filmed the Amityville horror movies. That's great. That's awesome, but that doesn't bring in tourism. They're all going to Seaside. This will get rid of that pass-through town mentality and have people stop in downtown, use our shops, stay in our hotels, and make us more than just a pass-through town. And I really believe that if this goes through tonight, we are losing a tremendous opportunity to get more tourism here and get more residents here. And I really think that the money, the tax revenue we get from these sales will help our town. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. Sir, are you standing up? Thank you. If you would, just state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Bryce Morgan. It's B-R-I-C-E. A couple housekeeping items from last week. I feel like you actually owe Daniel Roderick an apology for that wild-ass comment about he's going to take his medication.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
Carry on.
I'm not a fan of the councilman, but that was uncalled for. You know that, right?
Okay. Do you have something on this?
I do. I'm going to get to it. Thank you.
Okay.
Is the mayor here tonight?
He is not. It's a council meeting.
Well, he won his race by 265 votes. But we're not here debating the validity of whether that went through or whether we should honor that election. You won your race by about 45 to 55%, right? We're not here debating whether you should be the council person. Matt, you won your race about 55, 45, same way, right? And again, we're not debating whether you should be the council person. You are deliberately not listening to your constituents. What else do we have to do? That's a rhetorical question because I'm not sure. People participated civically. People are here tonight. Also, real quick, this was not on the township website for the agenda. I asked the attorney about it. As of 11:30 last night, it was not on there. This resolution was not on there. I emailed Karen Wall from Tom's River Patch. I hope she's here tonight. She does a great job. She emailed me back and said, as of 9:30 this morning, this was still not on the website. So for people who are looking for the agenda.
Council President, may I speak?
Yes.
Normally, the agenda is posted the day before the council meeting on the Monday. Inadvertently, it wasn't done. It's my fault. Normally, it's there religiously.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough. Was just looking for an answer there. Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
that's our office. Thank you.
Just seemed coincidental that all of a sudden we're bringing this to a final call and it can't be found on any of the township information.
Council President, again, may I speak?
Yes.
This was on for final reading, and it was attached on the website. All our final readings are attached as soon as they're introduced, so the public has access to them incomplete. So this has been posted for 2 weeks. It's just the agenda that wasn't attached.
And that's what I referred to, correct? I referred to the agenda. That's
The agenda, but the
Thank you.
ordinance itself has
Thank
the
you.
dates for public
I was
reading.
referring to the agenda again. Thank you. So Matt, Councilman Latano, you mentioned last week, we all know the numbers. We do. But we are the numbers. Stop looking at us at numbers. These are your residents. These is who you serve. Of, for, and by. Right? Isn't that how it's supposed to be? It's just really disappointing. Really. I mean, they called our high school heroin high, Matt. You know that.
Well,
right?
If you would, please, sir,
No, for what?
all comments have to be directed through the council president, please.
I can't address you, Councilman Latano. I can't address
in the
you, man.
decorum of the
Maybe
meeting,
I'll see you in the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying?
defer
Maybe
to
I'll walk past
Councilman
the house.
Locano if
You
he
live in
wishes
the
to
neighborhood,
answer.
too. So I would love to.
Go ahead.
You can address me, it's fine. No,
Well,
the questions have to go through him.
We try to hold some decorum to the meeting, so it usually would
Are we
be-
really going to talk about decorum?
Yes,
At this,
I will.
in this council meeting?
Yes.
If for those who were here 2 weeks ago, save it, please. You know that. Again, you referenced someone's mental health 2 weeks ago, so I'm not going to take any of your suggestions about morality or decorum. Not here,
And
not
that's
ever.
fine. All comments will come through the chair, though. All comments will come through the chair, and then I defer to the either. Yeah.
I didn't hear you, sir.
All comments come through the council president, the chair, and then I defer to either the attorney one of our professionals
I'm
or
just going to let you
or
know
a
that I'm
council
super
person.
disappointed in the
Mr. Morgan,
council.
you can address me.
And-
Okay. I'm just super disappointed that in this town, and there's been one council person who's had the courage to stand up and support the residents. So your seat's not safe, your seat's not safe, your seat's not safe.
Ma'am, you in the front in the pink dress, thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Elizabeth Puglisi. I'm currently staying with a friend at 1007 Camino Real Drive. I was born and raised in Toms River, New Jersey, and I am absolutely for this ordinance. I think we've gotten away from what this county stands for and what this township stands for, and I do not believe we're looking at the best interest of our children. I would like to make everyone aware that I have been a registered nurse for 16 years, and by the grace of God, I've been able to practice in a surgery center for 5 years, and I would like you to know that there are other forms of pain management other than narcotics and marijuana. I worked for a holistic pain management doctor, so just to give you a little information in that regard. To say that this revenue would be for the children and the school districts, when we've been teaching our children that marijuana is illegal, and now all of a sudden we're flipping the switch. This will absolutely increase drug trafficking in our community.
Okay.
It will.
Please.
Thank you. This will absolutely increase the amount of drug use in our community and in our county. The act.
Guys, she sat by and let you all speak. Give her an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. The access to our children will be more prevalent and available. You know, I am concerned more for them than I am the adults in this room who are supporting this. Our children need us to stand up on a moral and ethical and spiritual background with regard to making a choice and a decision with regard to this. I just hope that this ordinance does go through and it is passed, and there are those out there that are not looking at the profit end of it, that there is a concern for, really the concern is for the people that would be able to access it in our community and would be operating in schools, in jobs, in vehicles. I mean, those are a lot of areas to think about when you're partaking in marijuana use. And I think we need to research what the effects of marijuana are on the brain, because it absolutely has a direct effect on the brain when you're under the influence of marijuana. So let's do the research before we come up here and speak disrespectfully in front of this council in regard to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any other members from in the back there, ma'am? With yes, that was sitting down. Yes, you may. Good evening. If you would just state your name and address for the record.
My name's Tammy Miller. I live at 30 Turnberry Circle in Toms River. I didn't have a chance to prepare anything for tonight.
That's fine.
Worked all day. Been working for 40 years. I grew up in the 70s. I partook. I'm probably older than all of you. I enjoyed recreational activities when I was young. It is not a gateway drug. I never did anything else in my life. Now, in 2015, I had an accident. I have had 3 surgeries in my knee, and I still need another one. I've had one in my foot, and I really need another one in that one. And then I hurt my back at work. Again, I still have not missed work. They wouldn't allow me to take any pain medicine anymore, which was fine because I really didn't want to. I've been a patient of the medical marijuana program for about 3 years now. And I can tell you when I go to the dispensary, which is an hour and a half away, I don't go to Cranberry. I haven't been able to get an appointment there. It's very difficult. It's closer. So I drive an hour and a half to Southwest Jersey, where I stand for at least an hour in line most of the time. Sometimes we're allowed to give them our phone number and go wait in our cars. If I remember, I take a folding chair with me because I can't stand for long. There is never any issues in the neighborhood around the dispensary. People come, all ages, kids, people really old, people my age, everything. There are so many conditions that medical marijuana helps besides pain that I couldn't even enumerate them all. It's well documented. But we go there, we get our product, and we go home. You can't do it on site. People aren't running around, getting crazy, disturbing the neighborhood. But what we do, sorry, someone else said that we take our money there and we're helping other businesses. I stop on the way there, I stop on the way back, I hit the Wawa right around the corner as soon as I leave. So it's contributing to the economies elsewhere. Other people made the points already. If we had a dispensary here, our economy would be improving by it, and the neighborhoods would not go down. Sure wouldn't be any different than all the liquor stores and bars and restaurants that all serve booze. And I don't know if it happened before, but during the past year, there are restaurants giving drinks to go. Come here, sit here and drink, and you can take a drink with you when you leave. That's crazy. So I certainly hope that you don't vote to ban cannabis in Toms River Township. Thank you.
Thank you. You've been waiting all night. That's okay.
So yesterday, me and you spoke, and you showed me a map,
Mhm.
and there was a lot of red on it, but there was plenty of green on there for a dispensary. And Laura, you're right about the
Oh,
dispensary.
you know something, I'm sorry, would you just state your name and
Daniel
address for the
Kessler, 7
record?
Vale Street, Toms River. I own
Um,
Hub NJ Delivery
just-
Service here in Toms River.
Hang on, slow down. One more time, just so the
Yes,
clerk
please.
can get that.
7 Vale Street.
No, your
Toms
name.
River, New Jersey, Daniel Kessler.
Yeah.
Laura, you're 100% correct on the delivery services. So a town like Berkeley or Waretown that will not ban it, they're gonna get all the tax money for all the sales that go down in Toms River. Terrence, you're a lawyer in town. I know you see what's going on here. Let's be smart and do make the right decision here. You're on Maruka's Pies, your sales are gonna skyrocket. Kevin, you used to be a cop and you're an EMT. You have probably Narcan people. Let's be real. I mean, it's a huge problem here. Like, you know these issues are in the town. Lori seems to, I don't need to convince her, she's already not with it. Matt, I mean, I know you know the right decision, whether you make it or not is, well, we'll find out. And you're just, I don't know. And you told me you didn't read the whole bill right before you walked in here. And I'm sure most of you guys haven't read it. So how are you guys voting on something you haven't even read yet? That's 64%. That 64% is 33,000 people, residents of Toms River, compared to the, what, I think it's 18 that said no, maybe less than that. Quick question, do any of you guys, about cannabis, know the difference between sativa and indica?
I do
I'm
not.
guessing that's a no, so you're about to vote on a drug you know nothing about. Maybe you guys should all have to pass. I have here drug tests. I'll go first. You should all have to pass one before you pass the school.
Okay.
I'll go first. I have a breathalyzer attached to my ignition in my truck. I can't drive any vehicle without it. State regulated. We can all line up and take one. I'll go first.
I'll follow you.
You guys are public servants. You work for us. We will vote you out. And as if this
You have to speak into the mic so it goes on record.
So that's where we're going to stand. What else do I have on here? Lying about the laws. You guys have complete control with who you guys back. No permits are going to be issued by the state. What's the rush? No permit, no dispensaries opening tomorrow. What else do we got here? Oh, this. That's your first lawsuit. Right there's 2 in there. You're not taking them now. You'll be served very soon if this ordinance passes. I will. I will cost you no money. It's going to be discrimination against the cannabis community, and then just one based off of your doing of the law in general. So there's your first 2 lawsuits. So lawyer up, because I'm ready for a fight. What do you say?
Excuse me, sir. Our attorney has a question for you.
Yeah, I'm curious, what would be the basis for the lawsuit when the ordinance that is on the table? Well, wait a minute. No. I had a question. What would be the basis for the lawsuit when the ordinance that's pending tonight is specifically authorized by the statute?
I'm not giving you any information what's in this. You can read it when you're served.
Okay.
You can read it when you're served. You'll be suing it, and I'll have other people in here. So just like Jackson is being sued, you guys are now going to be sued too. I know, Dan. I mean, you told me yesterday that I wrote some things down. Because I pretty much told you my story a few weeks ago. That people were calling that didn't want the dispensary. Well, we don't feel the need to call and say we need a dispensary because we already stated our opinion on November 2nd. So you may have a few Karens calling you guys down there, and may not have a lot of us calling down there. That's because we told you how we feel, and we shouldn't have to tell you a second time. I mean, you guys literally, I just found this guy said, you guys won your elections by less people than the amount of people that voted yes for cannabis. So that means basically you guys are done. I'll be sitting in your seat next. You guys can write my name in on the next ballot. I will win. I'll do things for this community that people want. You know, you're literally, well, I mean, let's see what else I can go here. I mean, they pretty much hit everything. So I stand here in front of you. The mayor's not even here. No show. You know, Mo Money Lakewood over there, you know, no show. But I didn't expect him to be here tonight. It is what it is. But do the right thing. Hopefully this lawsuits don't have to be filed, but I will do what I have to do. There's some drug tests there. I'll go first. See, you know.
I'll go second.
Passing a law about drugs, maybe you should have to pass a drug test first.
I'll go second.
You'll go second?
I have no problem with that. Okay.
12-panel drug test right there. We can all go blow with the breathalyzer right now.
Okay, thank you.
In 2 minutes, we get a new one up.
Thank you very much. No. Okay. Does anybody else from the public wish to be heard? The woman in the back in the white coat, please.
I have a copy for all of you.
Here, just, ma'am, if you would, step up to the mic and state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, everyone. Susan Gato, 1946 Mount Juliana Lane, Toms River. I'm a nurse. I've been a registered nurse for 40 years, a nurse, 40 years, and I dispute what this nurse doesn't know. Thank you to the one nurse who did vote yes for this. None of you are medical people except for her. None of you know about what patients need. I represent a lot of patients, including myself. On behalf of polio survivors and others with disabilities and many others with health conditions relieved or improved with the use of marijuana, I am asking you to support the voters' choice, and approve of cannabis businesses in Toms River. Science has disproved over the years the many false negative beliefs about marijuana usage. Educate yourselves. In fact, its use benefits many simply as a means of treating anxiety, depression, which we all have during this pandemic, high ocular pressure, meaning in your eyes. This is treatment for your eyes to see, to be able to see. And many childhood conditions are improved with the use of marijuana, edible marijuana, and all kinds of new things that are coming out. It behooves elected officials to make themselves aware of the updated science when it comes to making decisions affecting the majority of voters' wishes and requests. New Jersey has passed the law making it legal to buy and use cannabis products for recreational use, just like alcohol. By becoming informed about the benefits and pleasures of marijuana use, you can do your duty and vote no to preventing cannabis businesses from operating in New Jersey, in Toms River. I also want to speak on behalf of veterans. There are many veterans, and I am a member of the American Legion Post, an auxiliary member, who benefit from marijuana use. You know that, all of you. Why are you trying to stop this? We all have, you've seen that we want this. We need this. What is wrong with you trying to say no to all the people? Like this, you're just not up to date and believing old-fashioned science. It's ridiculous. I use medical marijuana myself for the late effects of polio. I had polio at 2.5, and as a registered nurse, it became difficult for me to continue to do my job with the late effects of polio. And it's devastating when these things happen. And I have to tell you that I don't want to take necessarily opioids. I want to take something that helps me be happier, that helps me be healthier, that helps me do things during my day. And do you know I have to drive 1.5 hours to buy my medical marijuana? That doesn't make any sense, does it? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. We need this. We need this business. I'm also a graduate of ornamental horticulture. So even with a disability, I could probably work in one of these places. I mean, really, what is this really about? This is really about you just trying to please some of your very conservative, unknowledgeable supporters. You're going to find out the hard way that you're not going to stay in office forever when you do things against what the people want. And the people have spoken. They want this. And for you to vote to not allow businesses to operate and have cannabis available for all the people who need it in this community, shame on you if you vote that way. Shame on you, and shame on you.
Does any other member of the public wish to be heard? Is that, yes, sir, you in the center, sir. Good evening. If you just state your name and address for the record, please.
Not a problem. So my name is Kyle Darreline. I live at 35 Longman Street, and I'm not here to argue with anybody. Well, because I've done this before. I am an auditor. I'm a consultant. I am a certified cannabis banking professional. If you can imagine that you can actually do
There's a market.
Right. I have audited banks throughout the country. I'm strictly here really to talk about financials and money. First of all, I'm impressed with some of these people back here, what they know. Pretty good. They did their homework, they studied, and there's people back here who know exactly what they're talking about. But with that said, is in the consulting, I consult banks, financial institutions, what to do, how to do it. And I will tell you that this is probably one of the most regulated industries I've ever seen, ever, in my years of doing this. Okay. So what I said is that this is one of the most highly regulated businesses that I've ever seen in my entire life. The beauty is that you have the ability to control some of it, right? What can you control? The location, what happens at the location, things of that nature. I mean, I had a list of things I was going to cover, but like I said, some people here already talked about it. I would just say this, you really have one shot at this. You can't kick the can down the road, because one thing that I learned from doing this work is whoever gets in first is the winner. That's how it works. Because if you say, oh, we'll wait a couple of years, by just nature, people go to the same stores all the time. If it's here, if it's in a location you choose with the rules that you want, people are going to go to that location. So the revenue stream is absolutely huge. And the only thing that a town has to do is collect a check. Everyone else has to do all the work. The dispensaries, so the other places, they do all the work. All we do is, we cash a check. Unfortunately, I kind of think that everyone has already made up their mind. But I will tell you this. Even if you give it a couple more weeks, something of that nature, I have absolutely no problem giving you all the knowledge I have. I will educate everybody, whether good or bad, for whatever you want. I'm here, you have my address, come to my house, knock on the door, whatever you want. But I understand your time constraints. You still have some time. But again, listen, this is up to you guys. Whatever you like.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name because it wasn't clearly in the mic.
Kyle.
Kyle?
Dennerline.
And your address was?
35 Longman Street.
35 Longman?
Yes.
In Silverton, okay. Our attorney has a question he'd like to ask you.
Have you,
Good.
in you practicing in this field and auditing banks and things like that, have you any evidence of what municipalities have or can generate revenue-wise from this?
So,
because I hear a lot of numbers thrown out, and
Right.
I hear the argument thrown out that it's going to be profitable, but we've never been presented with any hard evidence of that.
I'll tell you what I can do, because instead of just throwing numbers around, I'll get back to you with numbers, different towns in the area, towns in the country, and I'll actually get you some hard figures.
I'd like to hear that, because the purpose of this ban is to give the town time to determine whether there's evidence for this.
Well, yeah, but just to go back,
Guys, he has the floor, please. Thank you.
Just to get back to my point, you have to put a hard stop somewhere along the line, because what's going to happen is someone else is going to jump in. As soon as New Jersey hit the switch that we're going to do it, what happened? Pennsylvania and New York went nuts. Why? It's because all the money we're going to make. I mean, I've seen hundreds of millions of dollars flow through banks, financial institutions, credit unions, and the revenue stream is enormous. And one thing I haven't seen any of them go out of business yet. Nobody. And I'm telling you, marijuana is here. It's who capitalizes off it. It's here. It's not like it's going away. It's in New Jersey. You have to figure out how you're going to capitalize and make all the money. And it's very easy for a town for that reason. Everyone else has to do the work. The regulations are incredible to open up these places. Even to bank it, it's tough as hell. But once you do it, you make a lot of money. And again, town just has to collect the dollars. So what I'll do is I will get you some of those figures, different towns, see what they're making. Some of it will have to be out of state because New Jersey, not a ton of places, right? Not yet, of course, but I will get that for you.
Thank you. Thank
Anyone
you.
else, questions? You had, like I said, I'm not kidding you.
Yep.
When it comes to my house, I give presentations all week long. I did a Zoom conference today for 125 people from international auditors and people throughout the country. So I do it all the time, training sessions. So again, if you have questions, you have my name, number,
I have a question.
call me.
Yeah, sorry, I only know your first name, Kyle. What was it?
Kyle.
Yeah, okay, Kyle.
Yes.
I do have a question. Is it FDIC insured?
Is it?
Yeah.
Of course not, because that's the federal government.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. But how do you get around that? Like, how does a facility work around that?
Well, there's thousands of places doing it. Because the federal government is only concerned with black market marijuana. And so the reason why they're not going to put the law into place is for that reason. Now, this is my theory, of course, not theory conspiracy, but for everything that I've seen, is because the one thing you don't want is you don't want someone trafficking 800 pounds and then selling it in a dispensary. So because of that, the federal government's backing off. But I'll ask you the same kind of question. Have you seen anyone get arrested doing it yet either? Banks? Dispensaries? The answer is nobody. Nobody.
Thank you.
They did. They turned it over to the state. That's how the state's handling it. But fair question.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very informative. Thank you. Does any other member of the public wish to be heard on this matter? Yes, sir. Mr. Blake.
Clay Douglas, 31 Leone Road, Toms River.
Your first
Thank
name
you.
is Douglas?
I'm sorry?
Is your first name Douglas?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I just kind of stumbled in here, but I think it was very, very important. Primary comments relate to cannabis. I've been a recreational user for probably a lot of you before you were born. I see really no issue with it. I don't understand the pushback. I really don't. Gateway drug, in my mind, alcohol is the gateway. It needs to be regulated, but there's plenty of places in Toms River where it can be regulated. The industrial zones, downtown Toms River, the revitalization. If you want to make Toms River hip, that might be the place to put it. I understand Toms River South is right there, but there's development plans for behind the post office, whatever that might be. You can find a place where it can be well regulated and controlled. The other item I want to talk about was the houses of worship, and
That'd come under public comment. That would be under public comment. We're just having the hearing on the marijuana issue.
Okay, we'll save that then. I'm a proponent. I think the town is losing a great opportunity to bring tax rateables in. I don't see the negative in the whole issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Does any other member of the public wish to be heard? I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. One more time.
I just want to clarify some misconceptions about the state law. It's not a bill, it's a law. That the current state law states that the zoning for dispensaries is in an industrial zone, and according to the Toms River map, the only industrial zone is pretty much on the west side of Toms River, you know, the Ciba-Geigy site, that end of Toms River. It's not really zoned for commercial areas. It's not really zoned for being near a residential area. So, and all those things would have to be approved by the Toms River Council and also the Toms River Zoning Board. Again, I think a lot of the nature of the questions that the council and the attorney has had for the public and for the gentleman that was just up here reflects the fact that you guys have not read and fully understand the law. If you still have these types of questions, you need to wait on this ordinance and get a little bit more information before you put it forward. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the public wish to be heard on this? Yes, sir.
Can the council members go on record and state whether they've actually read the bill or the law?
That's not necessary.
You won't do it? Have you read the law?
We get briefed
I'm
by
sorry?
our, we get.
So
briefed
you
by
did
our
not answer
attorney.
the question? But did you read it?
Did I personally? I relied on our attorney and counsel
Okay.
to advise us. Thank you.
Did you read it?
All questions have to come through the president.
he read
Thank
it?
you. Are there any other statements about this?
I'm trying to find out if the people who are voting against it actually read it, man. Like, how is that a wild question?
We can answer
it
later. If you would just
We can
wait.
answer when it's our turn to speak.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead. Oh, okay, later on. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. You will.
We will answer in 1 second.
Okay. Okay. Council, is there any other members of the public wishing to be heard? Okay. Yes, sir.
Richard Chulo, 215 Grant Avenue in Seaside Heights. I'm certainly not here to talk about this tonight. I don't have a horse in the race, but I do have a suggestion. I think what this young lady made an observation that there appears to be enough questions that require answers to make everybody up here feel comfortable with the vote that they're about to cast. My question to you is there a compelling, time-sensitive reason that you have to do this tonight, or can you table it to the next meeting, take the next 2 weeks, confer with one another, gather up all of the information, and then feel more comfortable with your vote?
I think you'll have that answer shortly. We already decided on that. Okay. Yes, sir. In the back.
Everyone, how are you? My name is John Loiacano. I live at 982 Edinburgh Drive in Toms River, New Jersey. Now, what I'm hearing here today, I have no part of this stuff. I've never done it. I never smoked. I never did anything. But I'm a veteran, and I'm with the Toms River Veterans Commission and also with the Legion and 129. I do a lot of transporting for these veterans that have to go to East Orange and go to Philadelphia and so on and so forth just to get this material. If they can't get it here and so on and so forth. All right, the majority of stuff that they get is maybe a little cut down compared to what you see in the streets and so on and so forth. But when I see these gentlemen and ladies that I take to these hospitals, what they look like on the way going, like somebody just wrung them out in the washing machine or something like that. And then when they get their shot and get their stuff and come back in the car, they become maybe 3/4 of the way human back to that situation. And they're like that for about a week and a half until it goes all over again. Now, as far as the marijuana and that kind of stuff is concerned, what you have to do is just think in your mind, as far as the people that were up here asking you about this, have a problem. And the problem is just like anything else. If I had cancer, I'd go to the doctor for this. If I had something, go to the doctor for that. But this is something important for them, and I think as far as a vote is concerned, it should take a little more thought and a little more understanding what somebody else has before you decide to do something. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there any other member of the public wishing to be heard?
Seeing
Yeah.
none, move to close public comment?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. I said aye.
Council President,
Yes, Councilman Turnbach.
I would move to table the ordinance. I think the council should think about forming a committee that involves members of the public, maybe some of the members that have spoken here tonight. To hear the public's position and to speak with the council as well. And I'll speak to my comments when there's a vote on it, if there's a second.
Very good.
I second that we table it. Did we want to set a date?
I would move to table it for 2 council meetings, so not next council meetings. I think it's going to be important to have this committee and also to have the opportunity to speak in executive session on some updates with the law.
Motion made by Councilman Turnbach, seconded by Councilwoman Yurick to table this resolution from 2 council meetings from tonight. Councilman Turnbach.
I want the public to know that I heard you at your last meeting, and I read the law. All 240 pages. I think I think a lot of municipalities are rushing to judgment on this because they feel a false sense of pressure because of the opt-out ordinance within the law, and they feel that if they don't act quickly, that somehow they're not going to have control. But you have to really read the law and understand the law to see that you're going to have control. So I think this council needs more of an opportunity to, one, obviously hear from the public. We're the voice for the public. It's not my opinion up here. I'm here on behalf of the public, and I understand that. And I think we really need to be more educated on this matter before we vote on it, and that's our duty to the people that put us in office. And for that reason, I'm moving the table. Vote yes.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Just as a few people have pointed out, that I'm also a registered nurse, and my first experience with patients using marijuana was when I was an oncology nurse in the early 90s, and one of my patients was doing exceptionally well in terms of their appetite and weight loss. So many of my patients were skeletal, for lack of a better term. There's a medical term, but suffice it to say, skeletal is sufficient. This woman was looking amazing, great color, no weight loss, no appetite loss. And I literally asked her, what is her magic? Because my other patients have to know about this. And she said, I'm really embarrassed to say, but my husband goes into the city and gets me marijuana. After I have my treatment, I go home and I smoke, and I have not lost my appetite. I've had no nausea and vomiting. I've had no weight loss. And that I was sold from that point on medical. Now the issue at hand is not even medical use. The issue that we're looking at is recreational use. But a lot of people don't understand how difficult it is to get the medical marijuana card and to have the funds, have the insurance, well, the insurance doesn't cover it, never mind, but to have the funds, the transportation, the time, etc. So having a resource that would be closer to home. And also, I did visit the facility in Woodbridge in 2018 after we tabled the last time we were going to ban it in Toms River. And it's an amazing facility. They have filtration on the building so that there is no odor outside of the building. They have such spectacular security that when the car dealership next door was robbed, they asked for the marijuana facility's surveillance camera footage because they didn't have sufficient footage for themselves. They had horticultural PhD students from Rutgers growing the plants. It was just an amazing facility. But the one thing that I found out was that the state of New Jersey only offers, and correct me if I'm wrong, but smokable or vapable preparations. And so now they offer some lozenges, but that's not really feasible for a lot of people who are sick. They can't smoke or vape, and vaping itself that's a whole other topic. So, allowing recreational would provide so many resources, not just for people who have medical issues that have been diagnosed for but for people who, maybe they would go get a drink on a Friday or Saturday night, maybe they would choose to use marijuana instead. I want to make it clear that we're not talking about underage use. In fact, we're talking about we're not talking about the use, possession, or transportation of marijuana at all. We're talking about the cultivation, sale, and delivery originating from within Toms River, not delivery to someone in Toms River if it's originated elsewhere. So we're not talking about underage use because it is unquestionable that we've all already voted by resolution that we oppose some of the provisions in the law related to police not being able to report to the parents about underage use. That is illegal. It is detrimental to brain development, as is alcohol. So we absolutely acknowledge that. We're talking about adult use of 21 and older, use, possession, and transportation. We're talking about what we can do, what we have control over. So what the township has control over is not the use, not the possession, and not the transportation. What the township has control over is the land use, and that would be the cultivation, sale, and delivery originating from Toms River. So if we allow a legal dispensary in Toms River, simple economic principles, market share, supply and demand, we will by extension decrease the illegal sale and thereby decrease the exposure of underage. We would decrease the exposure of underage people to the sale because there will be fewer illegal drug dealers, and I guarantee you that the legal dispensaries won't even come close to joking about selling to underage users because they will be shut down so fast that it is not a joke. So that's really what we've been talking about. It's really the opposition really seems to be about protecting children, and we take that very seriously. And that is not what we're talking about tonight. So anyway, and so I vote yes to table the ordinance to the 2 meetings from tonight.
Aaron had made that motion. Okay. Yes.
Councilman Cobb?
Read it.
So regarding this topic, there's the bill, it's complex. There's certain things I don't believe in it. The law. There's certain things that I feel personally I just don't believe in. Now, there's certain things I do believe in. I hear the veteran community, the conversation, how that helps the veteran community. There's certain things in life that, I wholeheartedly support, which is veterans and children. I want to make sure that, our youth has a good future, a clear future, and have the capabilities of doing whatever they want. And, I think our veterans really did that for us. I mean, Dan, you make that comment regarding take the test. Well, I just re-enlisted for another 3 years. Okay? So, sure, I'll take the test. Okay? So, that being said, I mean, I enlisted in the military at the age of 20, and I enlisted for another 3 years now in the Army Reserves. So it's not like, for me, it's never going to be something I'm going to be using. I mean, I plan on doing time until they kick me out. But that being said, I do see that there's topics that need to be discussed. And to be honest with you, there's topics I need to understand better. Not being somebody that has ever used before, not somebody that has any intention to use, but I need to understand it a little bit better. And, You know, Councilman Turnback asking to table it, this was a conversation that we've talked about. Tabling it, form a committee. I have my recommendations that I plan on sending to this committee and saying, these are certain things that I will not support. And if the committee takes my recommendations, then I will support the committee. If not, then I will not support the committee. But there's certain recommendations that I have that I feel very, very strongly on. That being said, I vote yes to table it and yes to form the committee.
Councilman Lotano.
Thank you. So you got to bear with me because I have notes from all of you that I've been writing the entire time, and I guess I'll just go in order. So, Mr. Morgan, you and I did go to high school together, and it was at that time called Heroin High. I'm assuming by the Narcan that goes on in our community, it hasn't gotten better, and I'm well aware of that. People are complaining about the medical marijuana facilities, the medicinal marijuana facilities, being far and having long lines. That's a legitimate concern, and it is a legitimate concern for the state. As a small business owner, I know the red tape that New Jersey puts on people and businesses, and I see it already in what I hear about going on with recreational marijuana, is how difficult it's going to be to get certain licenses for cultivation or distribution. This is a story. I'm glad the public comes out and supports something they're passionate about, and it should be taken to the next level if you feel that strongly about it, to the assembly and the state, because they make things very difficult. They want their hand in the pocket of all the small businesses, and they make it very difficult. So that's another thing I was going to say. Ms. Singer, I had emailed you a few times this week about a committee, and you had said that you would be on board for the committee. I mean, I don't make the final decision, but I'd also like to nominate the man Kyle from Longman, who seems to bring a financial background to the committee. I think it would be a very strong thing. A few other things. I'm well aware 64% of Toms River voted for this, right? But we didn't vote exactly how to implement it. There wasn't on the ballot a 240-page bill or law, whatever we want to say. It is really up to the committee and the town and all the citizens to come up with a solution that works for all of us. Because as I understand, and I will be the first to answer the second to answer your question.
I didn't finish reading it, by the way. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, so I was going to say the same thing. I mean, I started to digest it. There was a lot to go through. I'll be honest with you, I didn't finish it, and that's part of the reason why we wanted to table it today. To be fair, it's honestly, it's a lack of understanding. It's a lack of understanding on both parts. It's a lack of understanding on our part, understanding exactly what the bill is and all the zoning issues. It's also a lack of understanding where, the way we discussed this 2 weeks ago, we kind of assumed that the township attorney explained that we weren't saying no forever. We were saying no to the bill as it was written, and we would really like the opportunity to put the townspeople say into what goes into law into the town, and not just let the Trenton bill go through. So I do believe it was a lack of understanding on both parts, and the word prohibit is rough. I realize that now. It doesn't go over very well with people. We need to form a committee, and just so you guys are aware that this has to be decided by August 22nd, and if it's not decided by August 22nd, then the state law comes into play, and we have it for 5 years. So our thought originally was to prohibit it, come up with a game plan. It buys us a little bit of time, and it may seem like a long time away, August 22nd, but just to put it in perspective, we're going to form a committee. 64%. Yes. I understand. Absolutely. We're going to form a committee. We're going to bring it to land use. It's going to have to go to planning board. Then it's going to have to come to 2 meetings, which is a month, that there's a time frame on this. And by tabling this doesn't mean that we're not going to vote to prohibit it to buy us more time in the future. But, ma'am, I hear you. I'm voting to table it. Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah. So absolutely, I vote yes to table it.
Councilman Roderick.
One thing that I would like to talk about briefly is in Colorado, when legalization first occurred, the numbers in schools, incidents among students skyrocketed. They went up double digits. I don't support recreational sales of marijuana in Toms River. I vote no to tabling.
Okay.
Council Vice President Maruka.
When this bill was put forth, I'm saying, when this was put forth by the legislature and signed by the governor, I don't know if they even got it right the first time, because they had to come back and amend it for some of the clauses concerning our police officers approaching juveniles who possibly might be using marijuana or even alcohol and things of that nature. So they had to amend the bill. Maybe it was put together hastily because there was a vote in New Jersey to legalize marijuana. And I think the rush was on. And by us hearing from the public tonight, and also from hearing from people like Lori, and the medical use of people that are having a hard time, and the medical component of it, I break them out into different components and see that, and see how they affect the people, how they affect people's lives, and what is the outcome of that. But Trenton did a hasteful job in getting this through. I've had people email me for this bill. I've had people email me against this bill. And I feel that if the motion on the floor right now to table and form a committee, and if it could be members of the governing body, members of our community, and I think we should, if that's the way we're going to go with this, is to get resumes in, just from people, so, say, not just pick the names out of the hat or just say, yeah, because you spoke here tonight. There might be some other people in the community that might want to be involved and have a say in that. That being said, I don't want to be as hastily as Trenton, but I will give it till 2 council meetings from this evening to see what they bring back. I can't promise that I'm going to support. I can't promise that I'm not going to support, but I would at least give it the time so an educated report can be presented to this council and we could make an educated decision on it. And I vote in support to table.
Council President Gagan.
Along with everyone's comments here tonight, the public, as well as the elected officials, the bill was done certainly in haste. I think there's some good things to come out of it, some bad things. My only concern is that we'll be able to get a committee up and running and functioning with some good recommendations. I would like to see, like with our other committees throughout the town, people get to us a resume or what makes you qualified to be a subject expert matter on this. You can email any one of us as the council. You can email the business administrator or our township attorney. At that point, we will go through them because there are people that do want to be heard that may not be able to be here tonight. They may be watching remotely and whatnot. That being said, yes, overwhelmingly a number of voters did vote yes for it. However, the residents, when it comes down to where these are going to be, and that's our big issue, is NIMBY, not in my backyard. Everybody wants it, but not there. And these are things that we can work with together and come up with a compromise to benefit everyone. So I vote yes to table this for the next meeting, or in 2 meetings.
Moving on to item 11, resolution of the Township Council, Township Ocean County, New Jersey, proposing a 3-year project called Rally for Barnegat Bay, tracking down and eliminating sources of sanitary sewage in the Toms River.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Council Vice President Maruka, seconded by Councilman Turnbach. Council Vice President Maruka.
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
Yes.
Council President Gagan.
Yes.
Item 12, a resolution of the Township Council, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, opposing the rate increases proposed by New Jersey Natural Gas.
Move the resolution?
Second.
Motion made by Council Vice President Maruka, seconded by Councilman Turnbach. Council Vice President Maruka.
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
Yes.
Council President Gagan.
Yes.
Next on the agenda, the consent agenda. All matters listed under item consent agenda will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired on any item, that item will be considered separately.
Okay. Does any member of the council wish any item to be discussed separately or voted on separately?
Council President, can I
Yes.
have item L, and I'd just like Mr. Roberts to just give us a brief,
Item L is in
Yes.
Lincoln? Okay. Does any other member of the council wish anything to be discussed or voted on separately?
Could we have Mr. Kahalian talk about J, please?
Jay?
Yes.
Okay. Any other member of the council? Anything? Does any member of the public wish anything to be discussed or voted on separately? Yes, sir. Mr. Anderson?
I don't have the copy, so I think it's F. F is in Francis.
F is in Francis? About the garbage truck? Yes, electric. Mhm. Okay.
Back there.
And,
The lady back
Thank
there.
you. I got it.
The sweater.
okay, there's one other, yes, sorry.
item L.
A comment on item L as in Lincoln? Okay, very good. All right, council, your pleasure with the rest of the agenda?
Move the consent agenda?
Wait, there's another.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't see it.
I did not see. You know what it is, the lights are so bright up here and it's dark back there, it's like
Yeah.
looking at the stage. Which item would you like to see discussed separately?
Clee, Douglas F.,
Yeah.
31 Leon Road.
No.
Actually,
what
we're
item?
just saying which items we'd like to talk about off the consent agenda now.
On the consent agenda?
I thought it
Is
was
there-
open just for public.
No, no, no,
Not yet,
we'll
not
get to that in a
yet.
moment. Okay.
I'll put my motion on the floor to move the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion to move the consent agenda with the exceptions of item L, J, and F, made by Council Vice President Maruka, seconded by Councilman Lotano. Council Vice President Maruka.
Yes.
Councilman Lotano.
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick.
Yes.
Councilman Kopp.
Yes.
Councilman Roderick.
Yes.
Councilman Turnbach.
Yes.
Council President Gagan.
Yes. Okay, item L, Mr. Roberts, if you would, please. And then we had a woman in the audience that had a question or comment on that.
Good evening, members of the council. Item L is a resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement having to do with the Ortley Beach Streetscape Project. This is a federally funded NJDOT pass-through project that the Federal Highway Administration has required be broken down into phases. The good news is that the DOT has just approved the preliminary engineering report. So that allows them now to move on to the final design. That requires a new agreement, and that is the $55,000 that was a part of an $188,000 proposal with NB5 that the council's already approved. So basically what we're doing is authorizing it in three parts. The last part will be the construction document, and we'll be doing the same thing for that. I believe that one is slightly smaller, probably around 30,000, something like that. So by approving this resolution, the mayor will be able to sign that agreement. We'll have to provide 4 copies back to DOT. They'll give the green light, and we can finally start the final design on that project. And that's really all there is to it.
Do you have any other questions?
No, thank you, Mr.
Councilwoman
Roberts.
Maruka? Ma'am, if you would step forward. If you would, just state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Joan Strathern. I live at 426 Sixth Terrace, Ortley Beach. I'm also on the board of directors for the Ortley Beach Voters and Taxpayers Association. And I would like to commend Toms River and especially Dave Roberts for the support that they have given to the Streetscapes project in Ortley Beach. This resolution and your acceptance of these grant monies from New Jersey Department of Transportation represents the beginning of the implementation of the Ortley Beach Streetscapes project, which began over 5 years ago. My organization, Ortley Beach Voters and Taxpayers Association, has been working with Dave Roberts and others in the town for over 5 years to get this project to happen. And we are so happy to see it move forward and with the beautification of Ortley Beach along the Route 35 corridor. So I just would like to thank you for all of the work that we and you have done together. Thank you.
Long time coming. Thank you very much. Council, your pleasure, item L.
Move item L.
Second?
Motion made by Council Vice President Maruka, seconded by Councilwoman Yurick. Council Vice President Maruka?
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick?
Yes.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Lotano?
Yes.
Councilman Roderick?
Yes.
Councilman Turnbuck?
Yes.
Council President Gagan?
Yes. Okay, item J is in John. Mr. Chinchillian? This is regarding the fencing and installation for the Dune project.
Do you just want an explanation, or was there a question on it?
Just an explanation would be good.
Yeah. As you know, when the council approved the award of the bid to Earl for the Ortley Beach and North Beach repair project for the dunes, we had a line item in that bid for fence installation. However, we also have every year the council approves a fence contractor. So what we did was we simply compared the prices. Our pool fence contractor is actually less per linear foot than the Earl contract, so we're opting to go with this contract instead. It's saving about $20,000.
Very good. Thank you.
Very good. And is there any opportunity to get any reimbursement for any of this fencing?
Yes, all of this is, has already been drafted in what they call a FEMA project worksheet that generally means they're going to reimburse. We've already described the work that's going to be done. They don't really make a decision until the end after the actual bill is paid, but it's a step in the right direction, similar to everything we did with Sandy.
Very nice. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mr.
Just to
Scanlon.
add to that, Councilman Lotano, there is an opportunity that we can possibly be reimbursed for a good portion. I don't know if it's 80% or 90% of the $438,000 for that project.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, Council, your pleasure, item J. Take a motion.
Move item J.
Second?
Motion was made by Council Vice President Maruka, seconded by Councilman Lotano. Council Vice President Maruka?
Yes.
Councilman Lotano?
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick?
Yes.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Roderick?
Yes.
Councilman Turnbuck?
Yes.
Council President Gagan?
Yes. Mr. Anderson, you had a question on item F?
Art Anderson, 12 Park Street. I'm just curious why it's $500,000 for I didn't know, it's a garbage truck?
Yes.
It seems like a lot of money.
Well, yes, it is.
Well,
Maybe
you're-
Mr. Amoruso can
Okay.
explain that, and it will tie in our last meeting with this purchase.
You're not wrong about that. And this is this is an electric, it's the first one that we've purchased. And this is the culmination of almost 2 years of grant application. This is being funded entirely, including 2 charging stations, by a DEP grant. It's the Equipment Modernization Program, and it's called the Volkswagen Mitigation Project. And we were selected, so there's no direct cost to the taxpayers of Toms River. This is coming from a DEP grant.
It's a great thing, thank you.
You're
You're
welcome.
welcome.
Good. Thank you.
Move item F.
Second?
Motion made by Council Vice President Maruka, seconded by Councilwoman Yurick. Council Vice President Maruka?
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick?
Yes, and I'd just like to comment on the fact that I'm so excited that this is an electric vehicle. I'm always on the ecological issues here, and it's really exciting, plus the charging stations.
Plus
So,
DEP's paying for it, so.
And they're paying for it. We don't even have to pay for it. It's fantastic. Yes.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilman Lotano?
Yes.
Councilman Roderick?
Yes.
Councilman Turnbuck?
Yes.
Council President Gagan?
Obviously, this is the wave of the future with electric vehicles, or even introducing electric-based fire trucks. I'm not really sure how electric and water is going to go, but there's better minds out there than mine. But this isn't costing the taxpayers, and I vote yes. So, okay.
Next up are the reports.
Move the reports.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Turnbach, second by Councilman Kopp. Councilman Turnbach?
Yes.
Councilman Kopp?
Yes.
Councilwoman Yurick?
Yes.
Councilman Lotano?
Yes.
Councilman Roderick?
Yes.
Vice President Maruka?
Yes.
Council President Gagan?
Yes.
And next are the bills.
Move the bill list.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Turnbach, second by Councilman Kopp. Councilman Turnbach?
Abstain from PO 21-02241, payable to the magistrates. I'm a local attorney in town. I have a conflict with the magistrates. Yes to the balance.
Councilman Kopp?
I abstain from the following: 21-01985 payable to Oceans Harbor House, and 21-02405 payable to Silverton First Aid. Yes to the balance.
Councilman Lotano?
I have one abstention. It is 21-02249 payable to Holman Ferena Allison PC. Yes to the balance.
Councilwoman Yurick?
Abstain from PO 20-00569 and 21-01960 payable to Remington and Vernick Engineers, and abstain from PO 21-01961 payable to Rutgers University. Yes to the balance.
Councilman Roderick?
I have no conflicts. I vote yes.
Council Vice President Maruka?
Abstain to PO 21-02108, payable to NJMVC, and 21-02241, payable Tom's River Payroll, line item 91, NJMVC lease program. I have a conflict. Yes to the balance.
Council President Gagan?
I just have one conflict to Silverton First Aid Purchase Order 21-02405. Yes to the remaining.
And next we have elected officials' comments.
Councilman Kopp?
Thanks, Council President. So I'm going to just say that I hope I see everybody out here Friday. I don't want to steal Councilman Turnbach's thunder tonight with this, but I hope to see everybody out there on Friday supporting the Toms River Education Foundation downtown. That's all, Council President.
Thank you very much. Councilman Roderick?
All I'd like to say this evening is that sometimes you make a decision based on what you feel is the right thing to do, not based on whether it's popular or not. And other than that, I have nothing else to say this evening.
Thank you. Councilman Lotano?
Thank you, Council President. First thing I want to say is something I forgot to say during our vote to table, is that everyone up here takes this very seriously, the vote to prohibit or allow. You know, I took a trip to Colorado not too long ago, and, you know, I made it a point to go see a dispensary and ask them a bunch of questions, you know, knowing this is going to come to the council. There was silly things that you wouldn't have thought about, like I couldn't find a dispensary. You would think they were everywhere by, you know, what you hear on the news, and it turns out that they're not allowed to have signage that really says it. So you have to ask somebody, and they tell you where to go. I found that, you know, very interesting. You know, they answered a lot of questions for me, and, you know, it was something very eye-opening. And I want you to know that everybody up here has been talking about this now for weeks or months, so we take it very seriously. The other thing I want to talk about is last week or 2 weeks ago, I was on a Zoom call with Congressman Kim. He discussed the American Rescue Plan money that Toms River will be getting. If you're not familiar, Toms River is going to get about $10.1 million in American Rescue Plan funds. The way we can use it is not entirely set in stone yet. So 32 million, okay, so I'm sorry, 10.2 billion go to the state. About 6.4 billion is going to be distributed in Ocean County. We got, I'm sorry, 117 million in Ocean County. Lakewood leads the charge in Ocean County with 27.3 million. We are there at 10.1 million. Brick is 7.5. Jackson is 5.6. Point Pleasant is 1.7. Manchester's 4.3. Berkeley's 4.1. We're on the high end of what we're getting there. It is up to the townspeople to decide, how we're going to spend that money. And we are open for some suggestions. We want to help out the businesses and help out the residents of the town, and we are interested in hearing some suggestions of what we're going to do. I know some people have talked about things like reimbursing some of our local businesses that had to incur expenses by having to do outside dining or outside things for their businesses. There's a lot of things we can do. Things we cannot do is reimburse taxes or contribute to pension payments. So there are certain things we can't do, and there are other things that we can do. I also want to bring attention back to Marin, who you are in charge of the bid, and you're winning an award on July 8th. Would you like to just say something about that real quick? She is one of the people responsible for how successful our downtown night out has been, and it's probably the best in the state.
Thank you. So we won an award from the Monmouth Ocean Development Council. We won the Silver Gull Award. We're being honored for tourism, for promoting tourism during the pandemic. We beat Seaside, Red Bank, Asbury Park. So we're extremely excited about it because it's about time that people stop driving through Toms River and actually recognize Toms River for all the stuff that we have to offer in the downtown area, history, arts. So we're asking everyone to, come and support and pack the room with all Ocean County residents and supporters because we're happy, and this is just the tip of the iceberg for everything that's going to come down the pipeline. We're starting to brand downtown Toms River and really get people from Atlantic County and Monmouth County and actually draw them in. So we have big plans, and we're excited.
Well, we appreciate your hard work. Sorry to put you on the spot.
It's okay.
Right.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, very good. Councilwoman here.
Really, I have nothing else to say tonight. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Turnback.
Thank you, Council President. I'm going to jump around to a few topics, and they're all going to be brief. I'm a defense attorney. That's my job during the day, and my comments may come across weird, but I have concern over a directive that's recently come out by the Attorney General's office, and I'm going to encourage our local legislative representatives to voice concern or objection to the directive. There's been a law in the state of New Jersey for a number of years called the Brimage Guidelines, and that carries parole stipulations or periods that you have to serve in jail before you're eligible for release to many people who are convicted of drug dealing offenses on multiple occasions. And the Attorney General has viewed them as nonviolent offenses and has moved to remove those periods of parole and eligibility, obviously with the hope that people will move through the system and come out. One of the areas, or one statute that's being included in that is drug dealers that are convicted of employing juveniles. And I'm a defense attorney, and I can't see how we're encouraging giving a break to people that are convicted of employing juveniles to distribute CDS. And we sit up here, and Councilwoman Hurek is absolutely right. What's our concern with marijuana? It's the children, right? It's access, and we've got to look at what we're doing here, and the idea that we're rewarding those that have been convicted of utilizing juveniles to distribute CDS is just wrong. And I understand removing the Brimage STIPs because I understand the inequity in the way Brimage is applied throughout the state, and it was never its intention. But some things you have to leave alone, and I would encourage our local legislature to reach out to the Attorney General, reach out to the Governor and say, we've got that wrong. And you want municipalities to be comfortable in moving forward with the legalization of marijuana and how it's going to be distributed. You can't then go and say, we're going to knock off the time that dealers that use juveniles to sell drugs get. It's just wrong. In a separate area, on the day of our last council meeting, it was noteworthy to me that the New Jersey Attorney General, who I just referenced, filed a lawsuit against the Township of Jackson. And I want our residents to pay attention to what's happening in Jackson. You know, from time to time, I'm on Facebook and I see a certain council member taking a shot at the rest of us saying, we sold out Toms River. It's got a picture of some of our council members with some members of the Orthodox community and the Toms River Jewish Community Council. And it's noteworthy that Attorney General Graywall indicated, we filed this lawsuit because bias and hate have no home in New Jersey. And we will not allow some vocal residents' intolerance to drive local government decisions. Like all public servants, municipal officials have a duty to uphold the law, not weaponize it against specific groups because of what they believe or how they worship. Today's lawsuits will send a message to anyone in New Jersey who needs to hear it. And I applaud Attorney General Graywall for that message. And I encourage our residents to see that we've worked with the Department of Justice to bring a settlement. Pay attention to what goes on in Jackson. They've got lawsuits right now from the Department of Justice on the federal level. They now have a lawsuit from the New Jersey Attorney General on the state level. And what they're going to face are monetary damages when this is all done. And they're not going to face it as elected officials. It's the public that's going to pay for it. So just please pay attention to that. On two brighter notes, I want to thank Recalibrate and Johnny Roth for holding an excellent event on May 1st. They held a 5K run to support Just Believe, which is on our front lines for the homeless. Johnny Roth talked about how that was a special day for Recalibrate, and they wanted to turn a negative into a positive, and I can say to Johnny Roth, you certainly accomplished that. We're very thankful. A lot of members of the council participated in that. I upheld my end of the bargain. Councilman Kopp? We'll leave that for another day. And I want to congratulate Davey Zadapaju, who works in our clerk's office, and he's wonderful. If you ever come into town hall, you're going to see him greeting you. And he came in first place, and we're very happy for Davey. So thank you to Johnny Roth, and congratulations to Davey Zadapaju. Last but not least, on Friday of this week, the Toms River Education Foundation is participating in Downtown Night Out. It runs from 5 to 11. We want to thank Capone's, Battle River Brewery, Garden State Distillery, and Crave, who have agreed to provide proceeds from the night, from everything that's spent at their businesses. They're going to provide a portion of the proceeds to the Toms River Education Foundation. We cannot thank them enough. The Downtown Night Out, Councilman Town always speaks, it's a great event, family-friendly, great atmosphere, and this will be a special night out because a portion's going to go right back to the students of the Toms River Regional School District. So please come out. It's a win-win. You're going to support your local businesses, and at the same point in time, the students of Toms River are going to benefit. That's all I have. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Maruka.
Thank you, Council President. Council President, do you mind if I ask Mr. Chinkalian to come up and give us an update for beach replenishment? Because I know this was the week, I believe it was starting, and I know there has been some work being done in the North Beaches through our Public Works Department and DPW, but if you can update us on with Earl and everything else, Mr. Chinkalian?
Yes, actually construction started today. Earl was on site at Harding Avenue. There, previously, after Sandy, we would open up the dunes and we would bring the trucks in. We cannot carve out or excavate the Army Corps dunes, so they're actually building a ramp system. We have to take the on-road tandem trucks, get them up on top of the dune with a mat system, dump the sand, and then switch them with an excavator to an off-road dump truck that can run up and down the beach. So it's a little bit trickier this time, but it did start today. I'm probably not tomorrow, but by the day after, I think that's when to start rolling trucks. There's going to be probably several hundred a day. So on Harding Avenue, there might be a little bit of traffic.
It's okay, they're used to, Harding Avenue's used to that.
Yeah. And then we're also hoping either Monday or perhaps a little earlier, we're going to have the dozer up in the North Beaches, moving that sand that washed up or blew up against the walkovers, getting the fence replaced. That fence contractor we just spoke about, he's on call to start next week as well. So as soon as we get the sand out of the way, they'll start installing the fences up there.
That'll be great. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you very
update.
much.
I was hoping that today was the day they were starting. Before, when Councilman Turnbuck had made the motion to table the ordinance for the cannabis there, and we were able to table it for 2 weeks from tonight, or
Two meetings.
two council meetings from tonight. That was a tough decision, because I had a lot of phone calls and emails that came in against, and I had phone calls and emails that came in in support of the ordinance. We talked about putting in a committee with that motion, and I know there was people in the audience that wanted to participate, but I think for any committee to be effective, you need pro and you need con on that committee.
Agreed.
Two different aspects for that. And that's something that I would encourage the council members to take into account. Ms. Puglisi, you spoke out against, I'm just not saying that you would be the person, but I'm just saying I was just saying, get your resume in, and I think that's the way it's going to be. And I will also forward some names and numbers of people that were in support of banning it. That's the only thing I'd ask from this council, and I know this is a fair and equitable council, and they listen to all the residents, and that's why I voted to support putting a committee together, waiting at least the 2 council meetings, because that August date is looming, but we need to get all the due diligence, we need to get all the information so we can all make an educated decision on this matter. On a lighter note, the Recalibrate event was wonderful. I know Councilman Turnbuck talked about it. I was there earlier in that morning. Council President, Council Vice President did not participate, but we supported the event. And also congratulations to the Roth family on the birth of their little girl. That was a wonder. It's been a busy week over there. Oh yeah. And then also, today, or this week actually, is National Law Enforcement Appreciation Week. And we've talked about everything under the sun tonight, but I just wanted to bring that to the forefront, because the men and women of Toms River Police Department, I think, are the finest police department in the state of New Jersey. And I think for our men and women, they don't get the appreciation that they truly, truly deserve, whether you're sworn or civilian. So I'd just like to go on record congratulating them and showing some appreciation. So if you run into a police officer, if you see them out at a coffee shop, or if you see them, maybe just here in Town Hall, just say thank you. We appreciate you. I don't think law enforcement hears that enough, and I don't think the public shows that appreciation enough, and this is a perfect opportunity to do it this week. Thank you, Council President. That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay. The only comments I have, yes, I attended Recalibrate, but it was early in the morning prior to any other council members getting there. I did not participate in the run. I had a training event that day. True story. But as Councilwoman Maruka had said, it is Police Week. I'm honored to have been a police officer here in Toms River 26 years. If I wasn't here tonight at the council meeting, I would be watching the Unity Tour rolling into Washington, D.C. at the annual Police Memorial for their annual event. We did set up Southern Fire Company, Pleasant Plains Fire Company, the EMS agency set up a flag on Old Freehold Road as they rode by. This past Sunday, they ride for those who cannot. That gave the ultimate sacrifice, and again, I wish them well. That being said, I'll open up the floor to public comments. Mr. Klee, you seem very anxious. Step on up.
Thank you very much. Lee Douglas, 31 Leon Road, TR.
Go ahead.
I know that the matter was tabled, but it doesn't seem to be off the table as far as discussion goes. Had I known, I would have worked green. And as your discussions with, or deliberations or thoughts about the whole issue, I would suggest you talk to the police department. And who would they rather deal with in a confrontational situation, a stoner or a drunk? But let's move on to the other topic. I got a mailer today regarding the houses of worship. And it was noted that the minimum requirement for area dropped from 10 to 2. And somehow that was looked as a negative. It's my understanding that was a settlement with the federal government that would have cost the taxpayers hundreds of thousands to defend. So I support
Millions.
hundreds of millions. Thank you. And so I support that move and the reduction. It also talked about the mailer that I received that houses of worship are now permitted in all residential zones, or a number of residential zones. I think it's important to point out as a conditional use, and I'll point out, or I'll refer to our planner, Mr. Roberts, that requires a 2-acre minimum. So although you might have a lot residentially zoned and where the house of worship is permitted, you would need 2 acres to do it. It just seemed that the mailer was somewhat misleading in that you could put these houses of worship anywhere. You need a 2-acre minimum.
And other conditions on it.
And of course,
Many other
but it is a conditional use,
Mhm.
and just because you're zoned residential doesn't mean you can have a house of worship on your property.
That is correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any other members of the public? Mr. Cielo?
Richard Chulo, 215 Grant Avenue, Seaside Heights. Let me start by saying that I witnessed something tonight that I consider courageous. It appears to me that you came here with the intention of adopting that ordinance, and you took a step back and you recognized, largely because of the input from the audience, that it might be time to just gather up some additional facts. I guess the point I want to stress here is that we live in what I consider to be a representative republic, which means that by and large your job is to represent the majority viewpoint of your constituents. And your constituents spoke very clearly. 64% of them said that they wanted this. And quite frankly, I think it's part of your job to accommodate that vote as best as you can. Now, there was a gentleman here earlier who made the observation that Jackson Township's being sued. I would submit to you that Jackson Township is being sued exactly because they did listen to their residents. Their residents did tell them the things that they wanted them to do. They enacted what is now being considered illegal ordinances, and as a result, they're being sued and they're on the hook for millions of dollars. So you also have a fiduciary duty to consult with your attorney, and your attorney provides you guidance. And I'm just grateful that you took the time. You agreed to table this for a couple of meetings. I think cooler and wiser minds may prevail at the next opportunity for this. On that subject, I wanted to race up here because the gentleman addressed the houses of worship issue, and I believe to an extent he was far too generous by not calling out Mr. Roderick and his team for being responsible for that mailer that arrived in people's mailboxes. So, Council President, with permission, I want to direct some questions to Mr. Merlino. I'll do my best to go through them rapid fire. Okay with you?
Okay, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
One of the questions I have that's a serious concern for me, and I think should be for every resident of Toms River, is whether there is a clear delineation between a sitting councilman and the same person as a candidate. In other words, when that candidate is out on the campaign trail mailing literature like this, which some would consider incendiary, is there any culpability on the part of the township or liability on the part of the township as a result of those comments? Or I don't know.
I don't know either. That question has not been answered. I do know that in campaigns in other municipalities in the state that have had campaign literature and mailers that have gone out that have racial overtones to them, the Attorney General's office has investigated them. There was an incident in Edison, and I think the other incident was in Hoboken. So it's, there, we don't know the answer to that. The Attorney General hasn't.
So it's uncharted waters for now.
It is uncharted waters, yes.
I would be really cautious for those of you who are currently running, and if you're in this room, please be careful with what you say and the allegations that you make, because they do, if you're a sitting council person, reflect unfavorably on the town. We recently got rid of the Department of Justice, and in all candor, if they don't come back anytime soon, I think we're all better for that. Speaking of which, I may go over the 5 minutes. I hope you'll give me a little bit of latitude here.
Just, I mean, I should add to the question, that's from the point of view of the state.
Yeah.
All of that stuff that you just mentioned, if a private litigant sues, all of that becomes an issue in the complaint and in the litigation.
And therein lies the other concern. So I'm reasonably certain that you're familiar with the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, correct?
Yes.
And the provisions in the First Amendment are quite clear. They speak to our right to free speech. They speak to our right to free assembly. They speak to the government not being able to impose any particular religion, and it also speaks to the government not being able to prohibit the free exercise of religion. Would you concur with that?
That's correct.
Okay. So embedded in one of these mailers that I saw over the course of the last week is the suggestion that somehow or another the consent decree, which we're going to talk about in a moment, somehow or another managed to authorize a homeowner who lives in their home the ability to host prayer services and thereby become a synagogue and become eligible for tax-exempt status. Now, I can speak to that to the extent that as one of the founders of Rise Up Ocean County, I've been on this for 3 years, and I understand the rights that are established and granted to a homeowner-occupied residence. The First Amendment guarantees you the right to gather your friends and gather your family and worship in your own home. Are you aware of any measure, any level of government, be it federal, state, county, municipal, that could in any way, shape, or form infringe upon that without threat of federal litigation as a result?
No, you have a constitutional right to gather in your home for any lawful purpose, religious or not.
So if somebody were running a campaign...
Homes are sacrosanct under the Constitution.
Yeah. So if somebody were running a campaign suggesting or implying or inferring that somehow or another they would put an end to that, you would probably say that's an ill-advised campaign because it would constitute a violation of First Amendment rights.
Well, people say a lot of things in a campaign. What matters is what the government actually does.
Okay. All right. Let's go through the consent decree again because I think it's really important.
Being that Mr. Merlino took up some of your time, how much longer do you have?
4 minutes, 3.5 minutes.
I'll have to get to some other people.
I'll go fast. The consent decree, I want to put this on the record one more time because, quite frankly, I'm tired of seeing it. You received a letter on September 17th. That letter was drafted to you by the U.S. Attorney for the state of New Jersey. At the time, I think it was Craig Carpenito, advising that he was authorized by then Attorney General Bill Barr to file a federal lawsuit against Toms River Township because it was their allegation that our 10-acre minimum was discriminatory zoning. Is that correct?
We received a letter on September 20th. It was signed by both
20th.
The U.S. Attorney for the state of New Jersey and by the Civil Rights Division of the United States Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., saying that they had been authorized to file suit over our zoning regulations pertaining to houses of worship.
Okay. And in the body of that letter, you were also given the opportunity to engage in dialogue with them with a hard deadline of September 29th to respond.
That's correct.
I remember standing at this microphone on September 22nd, I think it was, urging you and encouraging you to please do that because of what's transpiring in Jackson, and I am eternally grateful that you did. You also happened to retain the services of the foremost expert in religious land use and institutionalized persons act law, Marcy Hamilton, who then came here on March the 9th, and in a very brief presentation supported by a more lengthy presentation by you, made it abundantly clear for 2 reasons why the township should enter into that consent decree. The first one was, I remember her words, I'll never forget them. 2017 was not Toms River's finest year. She spoke quite eloquently on that, and then she drove home the point by saying, you need to do this because Tom's River is wrong. Do you concur with that?
Her words actually that the Department of Justice was going to come down with a hammer.
Yeah, well, there was that too.
Mr. Ciullo, if I can interrupt you, I'm sorry. I've allowed you to go on for an additional 2 minutes. Now I'm going to ask for, some other input from the audience. And
Okay, so you're telling me I have to run away?
well, if you would, just step aside. We'll give everybody else an opportunity, and we can come back to you.
Okay.
If that's okay?
Good.
Thank
I
you.
have 2 more questions.
Okay. Yes, in the back?
Lisa Contessa, 829 Portobello Road. I have a quick question about the budget. As a matter of course, am I to understand correctly that you would give a reason as to why you would abstain from something? So I would just like to ask why Mr. Latano abstained from the Holman Frenzia Allison year-end audit.
Yeah. Can you answer that one?
So, as far as an abstention goes, I have a conflict, so that's the only real reason.
What's the conflict? Are we allowed to know?
Yeah, I don't mind saying, their accounting firm is a tenant of mine in a small space. They rent one room, that's approximately $600 a month.
Thank you.
I have nothing to hide.
Okay, unfortunately for me, I wasn't able to attend the last council meeting as I was out of state, but I am aware that I and my fellow running mate and fellow board member Ashley Palmieri were a lot of the topic of conversation, and our good names were maligned. I would like to state that I am not only deeply offended, but very angry that lies are being spun about us having anything other than the best intention of the good of the good of this district and every single one of its students at heart. I have received the trust of 17,573 voters, and Mrs. Palmieri 14,359 voters to earn our seats on this school board. Our job is to represent them, the children, and this district, and we do not take this responsibility lightly. Last month, Mrs. Egan, a fellow board member, spread a lie with no proof, insinuating that Councilman Roderick was working to control the school board by trying to influence Mrs. Palmieri and myself in our decision for the next superintendent. Nothing could be further from the truth. When Councilman Latano made a public statement echoing the same lie, Councilman Turnbach doing the same, Councilman Gagan, and Planning Board member Jason Crispin, who continues to send out press releases and happens to be running for a seat on the council against Councilman Roderick, is also spinning the truth. I felt it necessary to clear our good names and get the truth out. So Councilman Turnbach, when you stated at last month's council meeting that the town council has nothing to do with the schools and vice versa, I couldn't agree more. That's why I'm here tonight, to make sure the truth be told and my statement goes on record. Mrs. Egan, who is conflicted in participating in the superintendent search because she has 15+ family members that work in the district, has contacted both Mrs. Palmieri and myself repeatedly throughout the process, urging, begging, pleading, and coaxing us to meet with her, as she couldn't express strongly enough why her candidate must become the next superintendent. We continually said we are not comfortable talking about this with you, and to please trust that we will choose the best candidate for the job. We have text messages and handwritten notes from Mrs. Egan corroborating this. When she couldn't get through to us, she then assumed Councilman Roderick had influence over us, and when they spoke, she urged him to get us to change our votes. Apparently, she hit another dead end. Since this has all come out in the public, when he stated he had no influence nor desire to sway the decision on the school board either way, she said, and I quote, "Well, I have a lot of tricks up my sleeve. I will get this process overthrown so that it can start over and I can get my candidate in." And this has been repeated to me over and over by various people in the community, that this has been her plan. She's going to blow up the process. That's when she worked to sway public opinion. So if you keep promoting what she is saying, you're doing exactly what she wanted, encouraging her efforts, because until she started to spread her lies, The process, while difficult, has been running quite smoothly. Mr. Christopher Raymond, who has unsuccessfully run for a seat on the school board 3 times and failed, is apparently determined to be heard. He's helped Mrs. Egan's campaign, and they are both supporting Mr. Crispin with his council race against Mr. Roderick. Mrs. Palmieri and I purchased some campaign signs for Mr. Roderick early on in our campaign, and then we parted ways. End of story. Check the now public ELEC reports for yourself. We owe no one for getting ourselves elected. No one can control how we think or how we vote. Now, while Mrs. Egan was working to be the strongest influencer, she was not alone. Mrs. Palmieri and I have 1 more minute or
Yep,
less.
go ahead.
Mrs. Palmieri and I have been contacted by many individuals in this town to try and sway our votes, and they've all been unsuccessful. So shame on you all for yourselves trying to politicize this process when all you did was attack 2 women on a board of education and hurt some of the candidates' character. Mrs. Palmieri and I have no bias or political agenda here other than to select the best superintendent for our school district, and that is exactly what we're going to do. My hope is that after tonight, this is the end of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other member of the public wish to be heard? Mr. Shulo, I'll give you another 2 minutes, if you would.
Introduce myself.
No. Go ahead.
I promise I can keep this under 5 minutes. I don't mean any disrespect to the previous speaker, but I have a photograph of Mr. Roderick and the winning candidates on the night of the election. So to say that they parted company after purchasing signs strikes me as a bit odd. That being said,
You left off with the Department of Justice.
yeah,
If you
so,
would, please.
okay, there are 2 other allegations that I've seen in this campaign literature that I think need to be addressed. And the first one has to do with the statement that there are already plans to eliminate the minimum acreage requirement for a house of worship. So I'm going to ask each and every one of you right now, which one of you dastardly sneaks are meeting in a dark, smoke-filled room and making this agreement? Anybody raise their hand?
Again, everything has
Is
to come to
anybody
the
aware
council
of such an
president. We're
agreement?
not aware of that.
So that would be no?
Correct.
So you can state emphatically that there, with no equivocation, that no such agreement exists and you don't expect such an agreement to be made in the foreseeable future.
That is correct.
That is correct.
The Department of Justice ruling.
Yeah.
And it's working over
To that end, here, one other thing I want to make the observation. So 2 weeks ago, I stood at the microphone at the Jackson Township Council meeting. I had with me 2 members of the Orthodox Jewish community from Jackson. And what I appealed to the council president at the time, hopefully he answered the request tonight. We've been working collaboratively, and I see a couple folks here tonight that I hope to speak to when the meeting's over, to see if we can't craft ordinances to address what was not addressed in the consent decree. And it is a very sensitive topic, and it's one that absolutely needs to be addressed. We've already, I think, agreed that if a person lives in a house and they host prayer services there, they're exercising their First Amendment constitutional rights, and literally there is no government entity at any level that can prohibit that.
Not the activity itself. If there's a spillover activity, if there's a spillover
absolutely.
effect.
And believe me, when it comes to code enforcement for parking or any potential fire violations or overcrowding or anything like that, certainly the town still exercises jurisdiction over. The area where there seems to be a gray area where we're now trying to craft ordinances has to do with a home that was purchased in a residential area that is not owner occupied, that is intended to be used or is already being used as a synagogue, and whether or not through planning and zoning process it's possible to designate that property a house of worship and thereby become tax exempt. I can tell you what we're doing in Jackson, which is primarily we're focusing on primary roads, yes, secondary roads, no, much like you did with the consent decree. But I asked the Jackson Council President if he would be willing to lend us a council member to sit on an ad hoc committee that hopefully we can incorporate a couple of folks from Toms River, gather up 7 or 8 people and see if we can't hash out something that is mutually beneficial for all. So I'm going to make that request of you now. I know you can't answer me tonight, but I hope that you'll consider it in the next meeting, provide an answer.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Is there any other member of the public that wishes to be heard?
Seeing none, move to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to go into executive?
Second.
All in favor? Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances to discuss matters requiring confidentiality and/or of a privileged nature. And whereas the Township Council is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Toms River in the County of Ocean and State of New Jersey as follows. The Township Council will now conduct a private executive session. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed and/or acted upon is as follows. Matters of personnel, attorney-client privilege, contract negotiations. The following specific items to be discussed and/or acted upon are as follows. The executive session minutes review of April 27, 2021, personnel issues of the Township Clerk's Office and Administration, and potential real property acquisitions. It is anticipated that the deliberations conducted in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon the determination of the Township Council that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. Motion to go into executive session made by Council Vice President Maruka, second by Councilwoman Yorick, with all in favor at 8:44 p.m.
Let's go.
password works my email and everything. And the password is the same as this, but it says zero. Let's see. So if I do, it's this for 456. So let's say I go. Actually, maybe I should do this way. Right or wrong? Not that I'm hiding to do with the camera.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say either.
I did. We have a motion to go back into public session made by Councilwoman Yurick, seconded by Council Vice President Maruka. Councilwoman Yurick? Council Vice President Maruka? Councilman Kopp? Councilman Lotano? Councilman Roderick? Absent. Councilman Turnbach?
Yes.
Council President Gagan? And do we have a motion to approve and adopt the executive session minutes of April 27, 2021? As amended. All in approval? Yes. Councilman Roderick was not present. All in favor? All in favor? Okay, and the time is